And we're live, back with episode 4 of Coaster Conventional. And today, my guest is XscreamThrills, aka Derrick. Derrick, introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, Derrick with XscreamThrills here. Really excited to be on here. I haven't actually done a podcast with anyone before, so we'll see how this goes.
That's cool. I'm really happy that I'm like your first podcast. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. So, my home park is Kennywood. Been going there for about 7-8 years. I've been a coaster enthusiast practically my whole life. In fact, I really don't remember a time when I didn't like roller coasters, but I actually didn't ride my first roller coaster until I was 13. But, yeah, so that's me, I guess, in a little nutshell.
There you go. So, when you started riding roller coasters, what exactly was your first, favorite roller coaster?
My first favorite roller coaster, let's see, my first roller coaster I rode was Thunderhawk at Dorney Park. And then, that following summer, because that year I was too scared to ride anything else in the park. So then the following year I went to Knoebels, and I went on Phoenix and Twister. So then Twister instantly became my new favorite roller coaster. So I guess you could say that was my first roller coaster off the bat.
Gotcha. Okay. When you rode these roller coasters, what exactly really grabbed your attention and made you want to become an enthusiast? Like, you know how enthusiasts have preferences on roller coasters? Like, some enthusiasts like really high intensity, some enthusiasts really like airtime. What was it that did it for you?
For me, it's definitely the airtime, but my draw to roller coasters, for the longest time, has actually been more of a nerdy thing, because I've really been into ride stats. Like I said, up until I was 13, I didn't actually ride any roller coasters. I was too scared to ride a roller coaster. But I would still, before then, I was always getting on RCDB and just hitting the pull up a new roller coaster, random coaster button, and just checking out the ride stats and memorizing ride stats. So I was always addicted to that. But yeah, as you talking about forces and stuff, it's definitely airtime. That's always what I prefer.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. I think airtime is definitely my preference. Although I won't put off intensity completely. I think there are some really great intense rides out there for sure.
Oh yeah, just thinking off the top of my head, I-305, Intimidator 305. That ride's, yeah, that ride's pretty intense. It actually still makes me a little nervous every time that I get on it to take it for another ride. Same with Topville Dragster, stuff like that. But
yeah,
mostly I'll definitely lean towards airtime versus anything more intense. Not to say that I won't stray away from any intense roller coasters. They just a different experience. I feel like airtime coasters to me are focus on say fun, I guess if you could say. It's just a fun ride. Not saying that there won't be any airtime on an intense coaster or whatnot, but I don't know. Those are I guess I feel like a intense coaster is almost like an experience ride versus airtime. It's it's just, I don't know, good clean fun. I don't know.
I agree. I definitely think that airtime based rides will focus more on the fun factor for it, especially because airtime, as every enthusiast would know, gives you kind of this out of control feeling, you can't control it, but it just brings you cheerfulness and joy, and it's just wow, this is really fun. So I have to agree with you there. So let's talk about Kennywood. Kennywood is your current home park. What would you say is your favorite ride from Kennywood? Let's step it up a notch. What's your top 3 at Kennywood?
My top 3 at Kennywood, excuse me, would be Phantom's Revenge. It's a little tricky here. I think I'm pretty sure I'd say Phantom's Revenge, Steel Curtain, and Skyrocket. Though I haven't ridden Steel Curtain since 2019, since I haven't been able to get there. So I think it just opened last weekend, but yeah, those, and I feel Skyrocket might compete with Jackrabbit, because I really like Jackrabbit.
What exactly about Jackrabbit do you really like?
Well, again, that's just a roller coaster that focuses on the airtime, and granted, it really doesn't have much airtime. It just has, it's that one double down that gives you that good dose of ejector airtime. It's like a good sustained moment of ejector airtime,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest of the ride is pretty much just turns. But I don't know, it's just that one moment that really just seals it for me, and I just enjoy hopping in. Also, I guess it's one of the roller coasters there that my daughter can ride too. So, but yeah, I guess between that and Skyrocket.
So, would you say Phantom's Revenge is your number one at the park?
Yes, I always kind of had like this little caveat. Like I said, Phantom's Revenge is probably my overall favorite coaster.
Mm-hmm.
But if I get to choose to sit in the front row on Steel Curtain, I think it's better than any other place on Phantom's Revenge.
Okay.
But again, I mean that was 2 years ago, and I know they changed up the seatbelt lap bar situation. So,
Mm-hmm.
but no, I mean overall though, I think I would always still pick Phantom's Revenge over.
So, if a guest wanted to visit Kennywood, what would you recommend them if they were to show up on a busy day? What rides would you say to them to knock out is most important to knock out first? Like, in what order would you say?
If you're showing up at Rope Drop, I would say go right to Steel Curtain, because that ride is going to have the longest line. I mean, as of right now, they're only running one train, so the line's going to back up.
Yeah.
After that, as long as this is, I guess, is the whole tough thing, because also Skyrocket, I think they're running two trains, but the last time I was there, I only saw them running one train, but I think they're running two trains right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that line can get pretty bad, and it's right near the front of the park.
Mm-hmm.
But you go hit, especially now with Steel Curtain open, I would say go hit Steel Curtain first, and then after that, it really doesn't matter per se in like which order, because the other, it's kind of weird. It's like all the three coasters that are like at the farthest points of the park seem to have like the longest line, or excuse me, the 2 points of the park. So Steel Curtain will have a long line,
Mm-hmm.
and Exterminator, the indoor wild mouse coaster,
Mm-hmm.
that will get a long line as well. Like actually later in the day, that line can really back up. So I would say if you get on Steel Curtain, you get on it right away. Then I say you hightail to the opposite end of the park and go over to Exterminator, and then hit up Phantom's Revenge.
Okay.
Or, I mean, you kind of walk right by the entrance of Phantom's Revenge. So, yeah, if the line's not too bad, I'd say Steel Curtain, Phantom's Revenge, Exterminator. And then after that, I guess, like Thunderbolt, Jackrabbit, Racer.
There you go.
Keep an eye out for Skyrocket, because I'd say, like, during, like, the busy lunch, dinner times, that's when you'd probably want to try to hop in line for Skyrocket, because that's probably when the line would be a little slow, but...
Yeah, and then speaking of dinner and lunch and food and whatnot, what hidden gems in Kennywood would you recommend? Like, as far as food, like, is there a must-have food that you should get when you go to Kennywood that you would recommend?
Well, I'd say almost everybody that goes to Kennywood, they know about the potato patch fries.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, I don't know, everybody's obsessed with the potato patch fries. Now, I mean, like, I enjoy them, don't get me wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody's obsessed with it, and you can end up waiting like an hour plus to get your plate of fries. So, to me, I'm like, yeah, it's just French fries. But anyways, I mean, they are good. Everybody likes them. They're fresh cut French fries. But I guess you could say the secret is over in Lost Kennywood. I think it's called like Little Fry. I think is what it is. And they serve the same exact French fries over there, like literally the same fresh cut French fries. They just bring them over there and they serve them, and they have like chicken tenders.
Mm-hmm.
And if you catch that at the right time of the day, that line will be considerably shorter than potato patch fries. So there's that. Other foods, it's kind of a tricky question too, because last year they opened up, I'm sorry, not last year, but in 2019 they opened up a new restaurant in the Steeler Country.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called the End Zone Cafe. I only went there once. I do remember the food being good, but I didn't actually to check out the whole menu.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely recommend checking out that. I mean, if I do recall, I think they have like a solid list of items. So yeah, the End Zone Cafe is good, but yeah, definitely the primary everybody talks about is going to be the potato patch fry.
Awesome. I'm glad you shared that information with the viewers, because I'm sure that is definitely like, because I know there's a lot of people that go to like theme parks and they look for like food. Like, one of the, I guess you would say, pioneers of like park food that you go to for like the food, and this is local. I don't know about much of the rest of the country, but like in Pennsylvania, a lot of people love the food at Knoebels. Like they go there and they will literally just sit down and eat dinner at Knoebels because it's free to get in. You just go up to the food stands and you buy the food. So I think that's really good information to have out there, because I feel like there's a group of people that, you know, commit to like the food of every park. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like I mean, Kennywood, they basically have your typical theme park, amusement park food. Like obviously, you have your French fries, your funnel cakes, you know, corn dog, pizza, and then they have like their cafeteria. I can't think of what the building is called, but they have an indoor. It's not a restaurant, but it's just an indoor sit-down area, and it's. I mean, last time it was cafeteria style. I don't know if that is now, but there they have a little bit more variety of food to choose from. Actually, like I think they have like pasta and salads, other various stuff inside. But yeah, I always keep forgetting they actually have a Mexican place, but I've actually never tried it because I feel like every time I'm there, it's always closed. I don't think they opened it at all in 2020. So I'm hoping it opens this year, because every time I'm like, oh, let's go try out the I think it's called like Pedro's. I was like, I hope they open it this time. But I mean, they just haven't opened it yet. I'm hoping probably when they get more staffing, it'll be open. But yeah, I would say they have the typical selection of food.
Awesome. I agree. I think that's good information to know. The next thing I want to kind of touch base on is because since Kennywood is like your home park, I feel like you would be able to give like the best and most realistic opinion. So if you were to go to Kennywood and look at its lineup, what exactly do you think is missing from their lineup? Like, what coaster or ride overall do you think would benefit Kennywood and overall improve its lineup?
I always felt like they were missing like an inverted roller coaster, like one of those like other specialty coasters, you know, like an inverted coaster or a wing coaster, flying coaster. I guess a B&M. I don't know. But I think definitely like an inverted coaster of some type, even if it was a family style, like ones that like S&S or Vacoma's doing. I think it would really fit well in the park. That is kind of the direction that I feel like the park focuses on anyways. Like when they build their new roller coasters, granted they don't build them that often, but when they do, they're always very weird. Like obviously when you look at Steel Curtain, technically it's just a traditional sit down looper, but the layout and just how it looks and its style is just, it's like nothing else out there.
Yeah.
So I feel like they would be a park that you could say would be looking at something like that. Darn it, I'm losing my mind there. That new S&S...
the Axis Coaster?
Yeah, the Axis Coaster. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. I feel like that they would actually be probably in... I mean, they just built the roller coaster 2 years ago, but I feel like that would be the next kind of coaster they would be looking at, especially now that they do have a relationship with S&S. Obviously, Steel Curtain is S&S, and also Maryland's Mayhem, which is also part of the Palace Entertainment. I think that's what they're called. And Dutch Wonderland is obviously another S&S, but... yeah, that's I don't know. That's what I think that they would be looking at next. I wouldn't mind actually even a modern wooden roller coaster too, just to kind of like complement their classic wooden coaster.
Right, like maybe like a GCI or a Gravity Group.
Yeah, I mean the Kennywood is complicated as in to say they have no land, but they also have land. Like I don't even know how to explain it. It's like they have a. They actually bought a ton of land adjacent to the park, but I know the local town has been giving them issues to actually build on it. Issues about like I think at one time the park was even looking at adding a hotel, and that was shot down because I think the town in the area was concerned about traffic. And I mean that is an issue if you've never been to Kennywood. When you pull up to it, it's especially depending on which direction you come to the park, it's like, wait, there's a theme park right here. It just feels like completely out of place. There's just this random theme park like smack dab right in the middle of like the town on the side of this mountain. And the parking lot itself is just all stacked on the side of the hill. So yeah, it's very strange. I know there's been talks of like this new highway that's going to eventually get built within the next 10 years that would give them better access. So maybe in 10 years you'll start to see the park be able to expand a little bit more. But
yeah,
now I think their hands are kind of tied.
Do you think that there's any option to go down the route of possibly adding a flat ride to hold the guests over until they actually have the permissions that they need to build a new coaster?
I mean, I sure hope so. I mean, I'll be honest, Kennywood, they kind of like every time I try to guess, like, oh, this is what the park is gonna do, they do something completely different and take me by surprise. Like, I don't know if anybody is aware, but they removed 4 flat rides during their off season last year.
Oh, wow.
They removed. They had it was a paratrooper. They had it was volcano, which is.
Oh, yeah, I heard about this. They had a Bayern curve too, right?
They had Baron Curve, yes, which that was like one of the only in the world. And then they also had, which is I think this was the only one in operation in the world, was the Kangaroo.
Yes, I know.
Very own unique flat ride. It's been like a staple attraction to the park. Like, I mean, their mascot is Kenny the Kangaroo, which assuming to the Kangaroo ride. But yeah, they decided to remove all 4 without any warning. It was literally like, I think they announced it in like October, like, so the park was closed for like a month and a half, and they're like, hey, we're moving these 4 rides, say goodbye. And they've gotten a ton of flack. Like, it's actually kind of I sometimes get a little bit of humor out of it, but I'll jump onto like Kennywood's Instagram or Facebook and just go right to the comments. Even post today, like, I haven't looked like this week, but I mean within the past month, any comment, any article, anything they post, someone will be on there talking about, like, you guys got rid of Kangaroo, or like, what other ride are you gonna take away now? So people are definitely bitter over it, and again, it's really shocking. I don't know why. I don't know who thought that was a great move to remove Kangaroo, but so yeah, I'm assuming they'll get another flat ride, but who knows? That's just the nature of the park. So
wow, yeah, I would say that's pretty unpredictable if they're not communicating with their community that well. Speaking of Baron Curve, how do you feel about that going to Knoebels?
Wait, is it going to Knoebels?
So there has been pictures flying around on the internet that Kennywood's Baron Curve is sitting in Knoebels parking lot right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
I think that's a great fit. I mean, that's kind of how Knoebels rolls. Like, I was actually just at Knoebels 2 weeks ago, and they don't have all their flat rides open, but I was walking around and I was like, wow, this park has a ton of flat rides. I didn't even realize how many flat rides they have. Like, some of them are just like tucked into the corner where you don't even think there's any rides, but there's a flat ride over there. Like 4 of them over there. And they swap them out pretty frequently too. So, am I surprised? No, I think that it's a great fit. They have space. They have places they could definitely.
Oh, of course.
It would fit in with the rest of the rides, because I know they definitely like classic flat ride attractions. This kind of seems to be their cup of tea. So yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I mean, if anyone's gonna get rid of it, then yeah, let Knoebels snatch it up.
Now, how would you? Okay, so speak upon Kennywood's community real quick, because I just want to hear what you would say to this. How would you feel if Knoebels got their Kangaroo flat ride?
I mean, I think it would be hilarious, but again, I would be happy, because I think it's a shame that ride got removed. I mean, I have heard rumors that Kangaroo was meticulously took apart. It wasn't like just ripped apart, shredded, and it's sitting in the back in their maintenance shed. So it's possibly it could come back at some point. I mean, that might be. I don't know. I don't know what the park's plans, but maybe that could be their devious ideas. They take it away, maybe do a refurbishment, and then like 2-3 years later, like, hey, introducing the new ride, Kangaroo. Bring it back, and slap it back in the park. I mean, they have done that before. They have moved rides around in the park, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does come back to Kennywood. But yeah, if Knoebels wants to take it too, I mean, honestly, I think Knoebels would be dumb to pass it up if the park was selling it. That would be the perfect fit for them.
I agree. I think Knoebels has done a really good job of establishing themselves as a park that focuses on the classical side of the ride industry, especially because they hardly have anything that's super modern there. Like, their most modern coaster is Impulse, which we know is a Zero. It's like, I don't know what model they call it per se, but it's like similar to the Gerstlauer Eurofighters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you checked out Impulse before. It's actually a pretty fun ride.
Yeah, I've been on it.
Are very comfortable, but yeah, I mean, there's not. I'm trying to think of any other Zero. Like, I know the is it Wicked?
Yeah, Lagoon.
Lagoon. That's another Zero ride, but Yeah, the Knoebels lineup is definitely very classic. I've always been kind of wondering what their next coaster would be.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, there's some prime pickings there. Like they could get like a modern GCI or a Gravity Group because obviously they love their wind coasters, and I mean
Mm-hmm.
everybody is assuming like, well, they would be the perfect fit for a RMC Raptor. But
Honestly, I could never see a Raptor going to that park, and the reason why is because now that Jersey Devil is so close to Knoebels, and the possible rumors that Hershey might be looking into getting a Raptor in the near future, I just don't see Knoebels doing that. But I feel like if Knoebels were to get a new coaster model, and they would want it to like stand out from their other wooden coasters, I feel like they might look in the direction of like SNS, like maybe an Axis coaster as well. That's
yeah,
like
possibly. I think if anything, since Impulse with Knoebels, and after that, and seeing like the flat rides that they've been adding to that park, I
hmm
think they're definitely looking like I think they kind of know their boundaries,
yeah.
and so I wouldn't be surprised if they went in the direction of like another like family wooden coaster because obviously Gravity Group and GCI just seem to keep coming to mind. But I mean, even I guess what RMC just announced that new family
Family hybrid
coaster.
coaster, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I definitely think the wooden coaster is right up their alley. I mean, they technically have three wooden coasters with flying turns that, I mean, they're always doing maintenance on. So it's kind of like I always kind of feel like Holiday World. They're kind of like Holiday World. Like
hmm
I expect Holiday World's next roller coaster will probably be another wooden coaster type.
Interesting. I definitely find that opinion interesting. I feel like wooden coasters are like a dying breed anymore because parks like we've seen all these Iron Horse conversions from RMC turning these wooden coasters into hybrid steel coasters, and you know I'm personally a big fan of like the classic wooden coasters because I feel like they provide a ride experience that no steel coaster can provide. Like I get it, some are obnoxiously rough, but like that's a part of the wooden coaster experience. So I mean, I get it if you're an enthusiast that doesn't enjoy that, but for me, like that's like one of my favorite things about wooden coasters is like that rough experience, like that shaky, out of control. Like, oh, it's a wooden coaster. Like this is really fun. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's starting to die away, especially because a lot of the general public is like starting to like watch a lot of enthusiasts, and a lot of the enthusiasts' opinions is really starting to get out there. I mean, on Facebook, and I'm in a couple of these groups myself, there are connoisseur groups that general public finds themselves entering with a bunch of coaster enthusiasts, and then all of a sudden you have all these new pocket enthusiasts that have similar opinions to enthusiasts. So I feel like that's definitely like an issue for wooden coasters. Like I feel like that's just a dying breed. What do you think?
I don't think wooden coasters are per se a dying breed overall, but I think they're definitely starting to learn their boundaries. Like we won't ever see another wooden coaster, a traditional wooden coaster. Let me clarify that. That would be like over 100 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think like Mystic Timbers is kind of like the prime example. Like it's 100. I think it's like what 100 feet tall. And I
Yeah.
think that's like even the CEO of Cedar Point, I remember they were even talking about this too. They were like, we're never going to build another ride that's like means big wooden roller coasters because they just don't last. The maintenance on them is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like the smaller, compact, and definitely the family style wooden coasters, I really think is probably like the future of wooden coasters because obviously they're less intense, a wide range of audience can enjoy them, easier to maintain, inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, and let's say like the new steel track that GCI is introducing, I can name it.
Titan track.
Yeah, Titan track. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that is kind of like the um other possible like answer to the question. Obviously, that makes it into a steel coaster, but I think you'll see a lot of like very unconventional, or let's say true hybrid coasters, because like Lightning Rod, I mean, now it's a hybrid coaster. Even before, I always kind of considered Lightning Rod not a true wooden coaster. Again, that's semantics, but I think you're gonna have a lot of these new wooden coasters that will be like somewhere in between. Like it's gonna be a wooden coaster, but like 1,000 feet of the track is like the Titan track or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think wooden coasters are going away. There's definitely some smaller parks that appreciate them, and you will continue to see more of them get built, especially at these smaller parks, like Fun Spot,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even Dutch Wonderland. I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled out another like small wooden coaster. I mean, obviously, we even saw like Sesame Place, like Oscar's Wacky Taxi. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like similar to Wacky Taxi, you also have like Quasi Wooden Warrior. So
oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And they're great rides. I mean, obviously, then we got Kentucky Flyer at Kentucky Kingdom. We checking out this week. That's a great ride as well.
Yeah, I actually can't wait to get that credit. I've heard good things about that ride. So
yeah, it's fun. But yeah, I think like the days of like El Toro. I mean, that's obviously a prefabricated wooden roller coaster, but I just think the days of those types of wooden coasters are dead.
yeah,
It really makes no sense. It really doesn't.
Mhm.
But the smaller size, I definitely think you'll see them to continue to thrive.
I could see that, and I definitely like have after hearing your opinion on that, I definitely can see where you're coming from with your points here. So I think I even from this podcast have a new outlook on wooden coasters, because before this my outlook on them was pretty bleak, and this is coming from somebody who adores wooden coasters. I love wooden coasters. I put Great White at Maury's Piers in my top 10 because I just love wooden coasters. I don't know what it is about them, but they have this charm to them that I feel like steel coasters don't give me.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely am I've always been a big fan of wooden roller coasters. I do have some that I don't like. And I know if you probably go off with some of the comments that I make in my videos, people assume that, oh, Derek just hates wooden roller coasters because they're rough or something. He's always playing a ride being rough, but I actually do like a good rough wooden roller coaster. It just depends on how rough it is and what it's doing to you. Like for example, I just keep coming back to, I think it was like Mean Streak. That ride was really rough, which again was fine, but then it started doing like this like shimmying thing where it just like the seat would just keep like punching you in the back. And it was like it felt like somebody was just like punching me in the kidney nonstop for like a minute. Like it was like I thought I was gonna be injured after getting off that ride, but
I think in one of your more recent videos, you said the something similar about Mind Blower. In fact, you actually just released a video about that today.
Yeah. No, that's exactly how Mind Blower, which again, that just blows my mind. I have to throw that in there. That ride, I think the ride is 4 years old or 4 years old, and that like ride is so rough, and it's so baffling to me because I've been on Oscar's Wacky Taxi, Switch Track, Kentucky Flyer, Wooden Warrior. I mean, this is the biggest of those. Like, it's technically kind of branched into like, I mean, it's not a kid family coaster. It's like a little step up.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a small train. It's actually like the same size train as those other small wooden coasters, I think. But yeah, the turns are just insane. Like every turn, it just like it just keeps like punching you. It's just brutal. Other parts of the ride when it's like rough, shaking around, like that's fine. It's just doing those turns when it's just like punching you. Like that to me is like, yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've ever experienced any coaster that would do that to me. But I will say this, I think the worst wooden coaster experience I ever had was on Thunder Road at Carowinds, because as we were riding that, the seat, like the padding for the seats were literally like coming off.
Oh, really?
That ride was it was something else. No hate to Carowinds or Thunder Road, because I know it has its fan base, but I definitely did not have a good time on that coaster.
Yeah, I haven't checked it out. I will be the end of June, but
Thunder Road is now defunct, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, duh. That's I keep thinking of Hurler. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thunder Run at Kentucky Kingdom, which is like a semi-clone of the
Hurler, right?
Hurler design. So I say every time I think Thunder Run, I think Thunder Road. Yeah, that threw me off there.
Yeah. So speaking of next weekend, because as a lot of people know, that I mentioned that I am going to be going to Hollywood Nights next weekend and Keys to the Kingdom. You're also going to be making an appearance to Keys to the Kingdom. What exactly else do you have planned for this year, and what are you most excited for?
Well, this coming weekend, I'll be at Keys to the Kingdom on Sunday. I'll actually be on the panel. So, yeah, if you come, I guess you get to answer me questions, and hopefully I don't, have, an emotional breakdown on stage or something. I don't know. I'm sure I'll be entertaining in that aspect. But anyways, I'll be at Kings Island the day before. I really wanted to go to Hollywood Nights. I just didn't plan it correctly in time, so that's where I'm going, Kings Island. Then in 2 weeks, I will be going to Carowinds.
Mm-hmm.
I will be hitting up King's Dominion, definitely. Honestly, some of my plans are still up in the air because, well, when is Jersey Devil Coaster going to open? Is Pantheon ever going to open this year? Who knows?
Yeah.
That was my plan as well. Was I was going to go back to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. I mean, I have season pass for the SeaWorld park, so I'm thinking about going actually back down to Florida to check out if Iron Gwazi and Icebreaker even open up this year. I'd like to check them out. I mean, they're literally, it's so crazy because, I mean, I was just there about a month ago, and Icebreaker is completely done. It's just sitting there with a like ride closed sign in front of the entrance, and is anticipated opening 2021, and that's the same thing with Iron Gwazi. They're just sitting there. They look like they're completely done, and as far as we know, they've done full test rides. I know there was pictures of people riding Icebreaker, and I mean, we haven't seen anybody ride Pantheon as far as I'm aware, but yeah, that ride's I don't understand. But anyways, that's way off topic. So I really don't know what else I have planned. I would like to go out to Six Flags Great America at some. I did have a trip that was potentially planned. Again, everything's still up in the air because I'm just kind of waiting to see when those rides are going to open. But I was looking to get like Six Flags Great America, Michigan's Adventure, Worlds of Fun, Valley Fair, Mount Olympus, Six Flags St. Louis, and Silver Dollar City. But I don't know. It just, again, I'm just kind of playing up by ear. I'm sure I'll make an appearance over at Cedar Point at some point. But yeah, the only park that I do have that is set in stone that I will go to after Keys to the Kingdom will be Carowinds. And other than that, that's a long story to say that I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, that's all right. You know, things kind of come and go as you go along with it. You know what I mean? Like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, since last year, I have always just kind of kept my plans very fluid because who knows what's going to happen. Everything just changes by the fly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like me and Cedar Point. Like I'm going to Cedar Point at the end of July actually, and we plan this around the end of July because that's gonna be my mother's like vacation week, and she's been dying to go to Cedar Point like for as long as she can remember. So she's off that whole week from work because it's the week of her and my dad's anniversary. So I guess you could say as like an anniversary gift, I'm taking her to Cedar Point at the end of July, which will be my first time there as well. I don't have any of the credits there, unfortunately. So
oh yeah, that'd be awesome. You said end of July?
Yeah, it's like let me check. I know it's like the last week of July. Like I think we're going the Sunday the 25th and the Monday the 26th. And the reason I picked the Sunday and Monday is because I'm assuming, which I've heard Cedar Point is busy pretty much every day of the week, but I'm assuming those are the latest days for that park, hopefully.
Yes and no. I mean, I think some people say Tuesday and Wednesday, but I mean, this year you might be looking at a weekend anyways because I don't know what's going on with their employment status.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sure you might have seen the how they're now
the announcement. Yeah, they're closed. I think they're closed every Tuesday and Wednesday every week now, right?
Yeah, I mean, which is I think for at least for the month of June. I don't think they said anything in July, but yeah, probably. I mean, how I look at it is Saturday and Sunday is probably when they'll have the most staff, and they'll probably have all the roller coasters running. But like, when you get into a weekday, so I guess like Monday or Thursday, Friday, and if they're open on Tuesday and Wednesday in July, I wouldn't say that all their rides are going to be open. So that's just something to take into consideration as well. So I don't know. You might be looking at Fastlane Plus.
Yeah,
I've recommend it anyways. If you've never been there,
yeah,
Fastlane Plus is like the way to do Cedar Point. You get all the rides. You get the ride multiple times. I mean, because Cedar Point, I mean, if you're not staying on property, or even if you're staying on property with the Fastlane Plus, I mean, you have to be very motivated and aggressive with your day, getting all the roller coaster credits in. Because if it's busy, like there's you pretty much got to follow the right pattern to get all the rides in. If not, I mean they have what? I keep forgetting their total
It's
now.
18, I believe, because Magic Mountain's one coaster ahead of them at 19, and they're about to have 20. So
okay, well I know they include that Snoopy roller skater as one of their credits, but that's again semantics. But but yeah, I mean I always recommend their Fastlane Plus.
okay, yeah, I was definitely considering it myself. I was gonna recommend it to my brother and my mom and be like, let's just get Fastlane Plus. My intention was to get all the coaster credits in on Sunday and then go back Monday and get re-rides on the coasters that we like the most, because I feel like you can definitely get like all the coaster credits in one day, especially if you have a Fastlane Plus. But like,
yeah, if you have a Fastlane Plus, you can. I've been there on days when I did not have a Fastlane Plus, and it was impossible for me to get every coaster credit. There was just no way I was going to get it in. Because I mean, if you get in line with Steel Vengeance and it's like a 3-hour wait,
yeah, that kills off a third of your day.
2-hour wait, and then Top Thrill Dragster is another 2-hour wait. But yeah, it just all depends. I mean, that's just how that park works. I mean, Steel Vengeance, Top Thrill Dragster, Maverick, and like Millennium Force, Valraven, they always seem to have a huge line. But
while we're on the topic of Cedar Point, as I recall from a month or two ago when we met up at Great Adventure, you told me a very interesting story about the Windseeker there. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, so back in 2012, I think it was June 1st to be exact. My friend and I, we went to Cedar Point. We stayed on property. We were really excited to go check out the park. We got there at 9. It was either 9 or 9:30. I can't remember because I know they keep changing up their. At that time, it was a little bit different of what their early pass was. But anyways, that doesn't matter. We got there for their early access, and they had Maverick, Millennium Force, and Windseeker were like the rides available for early access. I wanted to go right to Maverick. I'm like, it was first thing in the morning. I wanted to get a ton of rides on Maverick. Excuse me. However, he was like, well, let's go ride Windseeker. Wouldn't that be fun? I'm like, whatever. So we literally ran over to Windseeker, got in line. As we were, we just got through the line, like, because there was really nobody in front of us, and we walked right up just about to go on the ride. And the ride operator saw us, but he's like, well, there was 2 seats available. He's like, and he came over and told us, like, you know what, I'll just wait till the next ride and I'll let you guys get in first. I'm like, okay, whatever. Excuse me. So anyways, the ride does its cycle, comes back down. We get into the ride, start the cycle. You can go up, it's like 300 feet in the air. In case you know what Windseeker is, it's like a giant swing ride. I can't even think of the manufacturer. But
Mondial.
Okay, that's who it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Mondial.
So, go up 300 feet in the air, we spin around. I thought it was amazing, like great view, spin around, and as we started coming down, the ride broke down, and we got stuck. It was like, I think it was about like probably like around 200 feet in the air. We were up there for like about like 3.5 hours. I haven't really talked about it much like on my channel just because I don't want to get off the impression like, oh, Cedar Point is bad, the ride broke down, and but and plus I don't know exactly what happened, but I will say this, it wasn't just like the ride just stopped and we're all kind of like, oh, what happened? No, something did happen. There were from my best guess, it literally looked like there's like these wires that are in like this track that go up like the side of the tower. They actually like detach from the tower somehow, and like they have like this plastic casing that like keeps all the wires intact. The ride was just like shredding it, so like there was a ton of plastic chunks just like falling all around on the ground. So like literally at the bottom of the ride there was just like a huge pile of like these like small plastic pieces just scattered all over about. But yeah, I don't know what the heck happened. Again, nobody was ever in danger of any like serious injuries or whatnot. I mean, obviously the ride functioned as it should have, shut down. The maintenance team, though it took them a while, literally I think it was like 4 guys had to climb up that tower and get into like the carousel at top. And they had to like manually lower us down because I don't think they had actually power to the carousel up top, so they were actually just manually lowering it down. I don't know what all the process that went into it, but I mean, again, like I said, we were up there for about 3.5 hours, so it was a long ordeal. And they slowly lowered us down too. But I remember we were up there. It was kind of like a breath of fresh air. I mean, a sigh of relief as they started slowly lowering us down. Because like, okay, we're finally moving. You know, we're gonna get off this thing. Cause
Yeah.
the whole time up there, I just kept looking off into the horizon. Because where we were stuck, we had like the whole park, like we could see like Millennium Force easily right in front of us. Like we didn't have to twist our heads or anything. And we could also see like the parking lot
Mm-hmm.
and the long driveway to the parking lot. So I just kept looking out the way. I'm like seeing like, is there going to be a giant crane coming down the road anytime soon or whatever? But yeah, no. But so yeah, the park after that, they gave us all fast lane pluses. I think they like comped us the day and like they gave us a free meal. So in the long run, I mean that day was super busy.
Mm-hmm.
So with the fast lane plus, if we didn't have the fast lane plus, we probably would have done less without getting stuck, like having that 3 hours back. We probably still would have did less than we did getting stuck on the ride and having the fast lane plus. Because we went and we rode like Millennium Force like 15 times, and we only got like a handful of times on Maverick because that ride kept going down. And unfortunately, we couldn't get a single ride on Top Thrill Dragster that day because every time we would get in the line, the wind just put the ride down. It was practically down the whole day. Now, ironically, while we were stuck on Windseeker, we just kept watching Top Thrill Dragster run its course. Like, it was running really good that whole morning up till, like, early afternoon, and as soon as we got off, the ride went down. So, go figure.
Yeah, that's some bad luck. But at the same time, it sounds like that experience really benefited you in the end, and that's good to hear, especially with, like...
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's okay. So yeah, especially with like how like scary like being stuck on Windseeker was, and like seeing parts of it flying down past your head to the ground. Like after having
past my head, but yeah, it was because there's like the carousel off to the side, so we could see it like on the side, like it just like as the
okay.
The carousel kind of like is down below you, or I mean it's a long carousel. I don't know how I'm describing it, but. Yeah, you can see the plastic, but it never like came near us or anything. No.
Oh, okay.
If anything, what that ride did is I've only been on one drop tower since then, and I used to be a huge fan of drop towers. Basically, that ride pretty much put into my mind like, yes, I'm never really worried like, oh, my life was put in danger, but I come like realize like, hey, you're strapping yourself into this attraction. I mean, very rare, but you could possibly get stuck on this drop tower or something, and you'd be sitting there for a couple hours, 150 feet in the air. So I always have that in the back of my mind. So I just don't ride them anymore. I'd really like to. I thought I was really tempted to hop on Falcon's Fury at Busch Gardens, Tampa, but I know that ride sometime occasionally just breaks down and gets stuck at the top for a little bit. I mean, obviously they always are able to lower it down, but
yeah,
like, yeah, I'd be the person up there like that ride's not dropping in like 10 seconds. My heart's gonna be racing or whatnot, but eventually I'll get back to a drop tower. But it's strange. It really put like a different perspective of attractions and thrill rides into my mind, being able to see the whole process of like, okay, what happens when a ride breaks down, how they get you off. I don't ever have a problem getting on a roller coaster because I mean, you're going up the lift hill, and if the ride ever stops, you're walking down the catwalk, and that seems to be like every coaster enthusiast's dream, anyways. But I mean, obviously, we all know the chance of a roller coaster ever actually like getting stuck on the track is extremely rare, even more rare than like a ride getting stopped at the top on like a drop tower, any kind of tower attraction, I guess. But long story short, yeah, I don't know. If anything, that's what that whole experience did to me. But for anybody else there, I wouldn't say, I'm not at all, please don't take it as me saying like, don't ride those attractions. No, they're obviously perfectly safe. What happened to me was like, it's pretty much like I won the lotto. Like, I mean, it does not happen like ever, getting stuck like that up on a ride for that long. But
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's obviously perfectly safe. Go ride whatever. Don't ever let that be an issue. But for me, I don't know. Eventually, I'll just keep saying that. Eventually, I'll get on one at some point. As for the Windseeker models, I don't think you'll ever see me getting in one of those again.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to take that chance either. I mean, I'll definitely go on one because I've never been on one just for the first time. And hopefully I don't have to go through that, but...
Well, I was going to say, since that incident, and again, it's not just that incident, but there was I don't know if it was the year before, again, we're talking about 2012, like 2011, 2010, 2013, they had issues with these models where they would have like sensors that would go off and the ride would get stuck at like at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And it would take them like 4 hours to finally get it moving and they can get it back down to the ground. I know that was a big issue. I never seen it in play, but I do believe Mondial, that's right, manufacturer.
Yeah.
They did like this evacuation platform that actually attaches to the tower, and they can actually hoist it up to get people off if need be.
Mm-hmm.
So they've definitely done some modifications to the ride so they can actually lower down in these kind of scenarios. Because I know that's always been an issue with those models. Like they have like a ton of sensors, and I guess they're very finicky, and would set it off even though there was nothing wrong. Like the ride would not allow them to lower the gondola back to the ground. But
BRB, I'm gonna call Intamin in on this one. I'd like to page a friend. Intamin, can you fix the sensors on this, please?
Yeah.
I'll take it a crack at Intamin there. Cough, cough, El Toro this year, but
I was gonna say why you should give B&M a call. There you go.
Yeah, B&M's probably the most reliable in my opinion for stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's how I always looked at B&M, but reliable, maybe not like the best coasters out there, though. I guess I'm turning into a B&M fanboy every day more and more, but but yeah, definitely a very reliable attraction.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I agree. I think B&M is like top 3 manufacturers. I mean, granted, and this is just me personally, I'm sure there's people out there that feel the same way, but I feel like they need to do something with their layouts a little bit, and I feel like the new surf coaster model that they're like coming up with might be a step in that direction, but I just personally feel like a lot of B&Ms are like really generic these days, and they're not as exciting as they could be in my opinion.
Like say any of their looping roller coasters minus inverted roller coasters, like they're very typical. They all almost guaranteed have 7 inversions, and those inversions are going to be the same, like the loop, dive loop, 0G roll, cobra roll, interlocking corkscrew.
Right.
It's just like every single one of them.
Right.
With a couple difference here and there, but yeah, they're pretty consistent though. I mean, they are slowly starting to mix it up. I mean, we've seen some slightly different layout with like Orion. Obviously, Candemonium was a little bit different.
I forget what wing coaster it was, but there's a wing coaster overseas that has this really, really cool like inversion. I forget what it's a knot of some sort. Like I forget what it's called, but
is it one of the ones in China?
No, I think actually it might be. I'll have to double check that off screen.
Yeah,
but
I'm honestly I've lost track. I mean, I guess I'm getting bad, but I'm not really up to date with all my China coasters, but yeah, back in the day I used to, like anything that was B&M or something, I knew all the ride stats about it, but now I'm like, I don't know what the heck's over there. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's probably where it was, because I think I do recall there was some interesting.
I feel like they definitely could have taken like that concept from the wing coaster that they were going for, and they could have expanded on that. I mean, X-Flight and Wild Eagle, in my opinion, aside from X-Flight's first drop being the barrel roll into the half loop going into the drop, I feel like they're pretty similar in layout. Like they have their typical inversions. X-Flight has the overdrawn inline twist that has the near miss element, which is pretty cool. But as far as like in terms of like the generic basis of their layouts, like I feel like they're pretty similar to each other, and Gatekeeper's not far behind either. Like I feel like Gatekeeper kind of follows that stigma, aside from the near misses elements on the Cedar Point entrance. But I feel like that concept was just really cool, and I feel like there's a lot more they could have done with it. And I just at this point, I feel like it was a missed opportunity.
I mean, I wouldn't say the wing coaster is dead. Like Thunderbird at Hollyworld is definitely the breath of fresh air for B&M rides, especially because that's their launch.
Yeah.
The layout is still a little typical, but just with the wing coaster aspect, the launch aspect, I mean, I think the ride works very well. I don't really have any complaints about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's what I look at is if they take a look at like maybe some of these slightly changing up the pattern with some of their B&M gigas, and like take the wing coaster and LSM launch, and
Yeah.
But again, I know the reason why. I mean, the manufacturers always said that they strayed away from launching coasters was because of reliability, and again, that's that's like pretty much their main selling point is our rides are reliable. So
Yeah. Do you feel like that? Because I'm pretty sure B&M used the LSM motor launch style on Thunderbird. Do you think that that's a reliable launching mechanism?
I mean, are you talking about is Thunderbird reliable or the launch mechanism in general?
The launch mechanism in general.
I mean, as far as I've always understood, I mean, with majority roller coasters that use LSM technology, they seem to be very reliable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some of the exceptions, or they have some glitches. Obviously, we know some Intamin roller coasters that use LSM technology that have some bugs to work out. But
Yeah.
I mean, so far, Velocicoaster seems to be running pretty good as far as I'm seeing. I
Yeah.
haven't heard anybody complaining that the ride like keeps going down randomly, like the Harry Potter coaster. But
Oh, Hagrid's. Yeah.
yeah, Hagrid's. Yeah, but do I think the technology is pretty reliable? Yeah, I mean, even Skyrocket at Kennywood is an LSM tech. I mean that, or the Premier. I mean, I think Premier Rides is the staple. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how often do you ever hear of a Skyrocket 2 model going down because of maintenance issues? They're always running.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I mean, Skyrocket at Kennywood is kind of the exception. I mean, since they fixed it, it's been running pretty consistent. But I mean, even before it went down, because I mean that ride broke down. I think it was like the beginning of 2018 and didn't open back up until mid to end of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, the ride was always pretty reliable. So yeah, I mean, I think the technology is reliable enough, and I think that's the reason why B&M checked it out. Now, why Lightning Rod seems to be the
Outlier.
yeah, the outlier there. I don't know why. But well, I guess that's a whole nother story too, because I remember reading about that ride back in the day. Is they used a company that made the LSM tech for them.
Mm-hmm.
That was their first ever roller coaster or theme park attraction. They built and made their LSM technology on their launching equipment. So I think that's probably always been half of the reason why they had so many issues. And they're still having issues as far as I understand. I mean, I think I've been hearing the ride's been going down, but I mean, that's
Yeah.
been a few weeks since I've heard anything, so I don't know.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate too, because Dollywood spent a lot of time on the off season prepping Lightning Rod for this season to overall enhance its reliability. And I've also been hearing the same thing from enthusiasts that have visited Dollywood this year, that Lightning Rod's reliability isn't as bad as it used to be, but it's still pretty serious. I mean, going down periodically throughout some of the days that people are visiting the park, and sometimes even closed for a couple days in a row. Just I think it's solely due to that LSM system, and like you mentioned, I think it has something to do with the manufacturer that introduced that technology to that ride. Do you think that they could possibly look towards somebody with more reliable technology, like maybe Premiere, to come overhaul that for them, or do you think Rocky Mountain? Yeah,
I don't know if it's, I'm gonna say I really don't. Honestly, I don't even know what the issue is anymore with it, because I mean I know Rocky Mountain Construction has spent a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into trying to get that thing to work well.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I understood that with the wooden coaster aspect, that like the vibrations and stuff was causing issues, but now it has the steel track. So I think that was the idea why that's supposed to make it more reliable. I don't know. I mean, you think somebody like Premier Rides might be able to do that ride good, but I don't know. I mean, if you see one of my more recent videos where I talked about roller coasters that'll be gone in 10 years, I had that as my #1 pick.
Uh-huh.
My wild card, because I don't know. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if they can't get it working very well by the end of this year, I think that's a coaster you'd see in, not right away, but I think in a few years, once they build their next major attraction, it's like Lightning Rod. What's that? It's gone. Like,
yeah. I agree.
I mean, that's a huge disappointment with. I mean, as far as I've even heard that with Cedar Point, supposedly I never actually heard it, but I think people said something about the CEO was kind of disappointed with Top Floor Dragster because of its maintenance issues. Those hydraulic launch coasters. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely huge, big attractions that people love, like Lightning Rod. That huge fan base, everybody loves them. They always have a huge line, but they're just not reliable. And again, it comes down to the park as how much money you're spending into the attraction every year, and if it's worth to keep operating it into the unforeseeable future. So who knows?
All right. So as we're coming into like towards the end of the podcast, this is a good time for whoever is watching right now to start asking questions. For either me or Derrick. Derrick, is there anything else that you would like to say to the viewers and whoever will potentially watch this video after it gets posted as well?
I don't know. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm all game for answering any questions you got.
So while we wait for questions here, yeah, so you said Darien Lake was also your home park for a long time. What is your favorite thing about Darien Lake?
I mean, my favorite ride was always Ride of Steel, or I guess Superman Ride of Steel back in the day. I don't know. Darien Lake is actually, it's a very interesting property. I don't know if you've ever been there or not, but I mean, it's a huge park. As in, like, they have a ton of land. Like, they actually have like this campground right next to it, and they have a lot of space in the campground, and they have a lot of land to expand or make something out of it. And I mean, where they're located, I mean, they're close to Buffalo, so it's not like they have like a huge, metropolis nearby with a ton of people. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting park. Their coaster collections, very unique. Like, obviously, you got Viper, the aero looping coaster. Probably one of my favorite aero loopers out there. I mean, it still has some of that staple janky transitions and whatnot, but I mean, I think it's probably one of the better ones. I've always enjoyed it. The Moto Coaster, I think that's a zero ride, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, I believe that is a Zamperla, but don't.
Zamperla, yeah, there we go. Zeros or Zamperla is probably like yelling at me now, but oh yeah, Moto Coaster. I actually kind of enjoy that ride. It's just a fun little family launch coaster, and that launch actually has a nice little bite to it. But obviously, Mind Eraser is a Vekoma SLC. Before I knew Vekoma SLCs were bad, I always liked the ride, but then
and then the stigma hit.
Yeah, but I mean, I now unfortunately I just know the state of Six Flags Darien Lake. Like, Ride of Steel only has one train. Mind Eraser only has one train. I think I even heard Moto Coaster only has one train. Predator, of all things, used to have two trains, but now has one train. I think they sold one of the trains to a different park, something like that. I can't remember, but
Darien Lake's in really rough shape right now, especially after hearing about Superman this past weekend. Superman is not open for the season yet, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
There was a little bit of a rumor going around that Superman derailed. I don't know how true that is, but
I mean, the ride has, I don't know. I mean, it's we're going down a whole rabbit hole there with.
Yeah.
Let's just say I have a certain past with Ride of Steel, certain things that I know about or people I know about that have been affected by the ride. But yeah, the coaster's had its interesting past. I don't know. I mean, it's still the best coaster there. And I mean, it's still a very reliable coaster. But I don't know. Maybe I was hoping Six Flags would get like a new train for that ride or something.
Yeah. I believe I cut you off in your train of thought. I'm sorry.
Was I? I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh, well.
We do have a question. Coaster World asks, what do we think Kings Island will add as their next attraction? Personally, Kings Island's a tough park to guess attractions for because they're not missing a whole lot. And Kings Island, honestly, like, they just opened up a ton of land plots with, like, Firehawk and Vortex being removed, and there's a lot of speculation that this jaw-dropping Gerstlauer with record-breaking details that's supposedly coming to the United States next year is going to Kings Island. There's also speculation that coaster is going to a bunch of other parks, so honestly, I don't know.
I mean, that Gerstlauer that you're talking about, my number one pick still is, not to say my number one pick is the park I wanted to go, but my number one guess I think is going to be Cedar Point. I feel like the signs are kind of starting to point towards that. I know Cedar Fair did announce that they're looking at investing $100 million into the park over the next year or two. I think is what it was. So I know right now, but again, I know Cedar Point is kind of hurting with employees, which is obviously why they cranked up their starting wage at $20 an hour, because I mean that's their marquee park, and they really want to bring guests back to Cedar Point and really pack out that place. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised if they open that in that giant Gerstlauer there, but Kings Island, I feel like that would be a great fit. The other obviously good fit for that park is, I mean, I know they have 2 launching coasters there with Flight of Fear and Back
Oh,
Stunt Coaster.
yeah.
But excuse me, I think something like Copperhead Strike would fit very well at the park.
Okay, so like a Mac multi-launching.
Yeah, or I mean, yeah, even like a Gerstlauer multi-looping roller coaster. I mean, I feel like that's kind of like, I think that's what everybody's been going off as well. Like, oh, that would be like, the ride to take the place of Vortex, because that was that had 6
Yeah.
inversions. So it's heir to that legacy or whatever. But I don't know what will replace that ride there. But I think that's a good start. Would be either a launching coaster or a multi-looping roller coaster. They don't have an RMC. I know Kings Island has been really much on getting their audience what they want, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see some sort of RMC roller coaster come to the park. I mean, Kings Island's their opportunity, their potential is like limitless. They have a ton of land to work with, land not even occupied right now. I mean, obviously they cleared the space for Vortex, but I'm just talking about space that they just have sitting there. Orion took up. I know Orion did take up the space of Firehawk.
Firehawk, okay.
But there's even still land that they had used that they're not using. I mean, a good chunk of where Son of Beast was is still not used. Like Banshee only takes up a certain small little corner of that.
Yeah.
So I mean, the park has a ton of land to work with. So yeah, I mean, whatever they want, they could potentially build there. And I mean, as far as I understand, I mean, Kings Island they're kind of like taking the crown away from Cedar Point or from the other Cedar Fair parks. I mean, they've been really busy. I think they maxed out capacity like 2 weeks ago, which is insane.
Yeah, I heard about that, yeah.
But I mean, the park has been living up to the potential. Like, I mean, when I went there last year, granted, I mean, that was the pandemic in full swing, and obviously a lot of protocols and different policies in place.
Mm-hmm.
Kings Island was on top of it. Like, the park I mean, they had all their roller coasters were running at half capacity, but they were still managing to just send the trains as fast as they could.
Right.
Getting their guests through the lines as fast as they could. I mean, that park was packed. I mean, every day that I went there last year, they were busy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, I don't think so. I guess if anything, I'm saying is the budget for Kings Island is. I don't think they would be looking at like, oh, we got to look at a budget coaster. Like, no,
yeah, I think.
They're going to put in a legit coaster, and they need to put in a coaster that has a very good ride capacity. And I think that's, well, I'm going off on trails here, but I know that's something I think Cedar Fair has been focusing on, and we'll probably see more focus on, which is why I don't think we'll see them ever get like an RMC Raptor again. But
well, actually, I was just about to like bring up a point because you had mentioned something in your answer that kind of made a light bulb go off in my head. So, Cedar Fair loves innovation, and I feel like all eyes are kind of on Jersey Devil right now as far as RMC Raptors go, because I feel like Cedar Fair as a whole, like the entire chain, is like waiting to see how that ride operates and how well it does to potentially like look into possibly putting another Raptor in one of their parks, because that's like the first like non-clone RMC Raptor that's going up. So I feel like that might have some influence on the idea of possibly adding a Raptor to another Cedar Fair park, or even Kings Island, for example. But I feel like if they were going to do that, go that route, and especially with Kings Island or Cedar Point, because they're the 2 biggest parks in the chain, in my opinion, I feel like they'd go big or go home. So, like, a couple years ago, I think it was mentioned that production on the RMC T-Rex model has been halted, but I feel like interest could be re-sparked in that model if Jersey Devil performs well enough to get these big chains to look at possibly adding a single rail coaster to their park with more bite and more capacity. So I feel like Jersey Devil is like definitely like a big like eyeball right now, like to other park chains, because I feel like how it runs and how it operates and how it performs is really gonna like set the stage for RMC single rail coasters.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess to my response, a long way around. Last year, I think again was very pivotal in many aspects, but I think with the pandemic, a lot of parks are looking at ways to cut the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Inexpensive rides, which is obviously why everybody's eyes is on Jersey Devil Coaster, because the single rail coaster, as far as I understand, is not that expensive of a ride.
Mm-hmm.
I know the price has never been officially released for like Wonder Woman and Railblazer, but what I've heard, it's like between $4 and $6 million, which is
Oh wow.
very inexpensive. Again,
Yeah.
that's not official, but that's what I've seen and people have talked about and mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why it's been very attractive to like some smaller parks. And I think but you're talking about with the T-Rex coaster,
Yeah.
I still think it's probably shelved. And the reason why I say it, there's a reason why they're looking at doing the family hybrid coasters, because I think that's kind of like the audience that people are looking at, is they're looking at for smaller, less intimidating roller coasters that have a wider range of audience.
Mm-hmm.
Again, inexpensive. Obviously, they're going back to what they do best, making hybrid roller coasters, simple, basic attractions. I mean, for the most part, RMC has been pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm.
They've had some hiccups. I know, like Steel Vengeance has had some of its issues. Again, that's one of their. I guess I think New Texas Giant has a block break, but Steel Vengeance obviously has that mid-course break run, in their attempts to have like a 3 trains running efficiently hasn't really been a thing. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to think here, but yeah, I think that's just the direction that parks are going to start looking at. Is they're probably looking at some smaller, maybe some less intimidating attractions or rides that hit a smaller audience, that they can have a better fan base that can come in. And, so yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting to see where they're going, because I mean, obviously, like Cedar Fair. Again, I'm going way all going over the place, but just going over like efficiency, like Knott's Berry Farm has always been one of their best parks. They're open, 365 days a year. However, this last year, that's one of their parks that has been closed for the longest time until a couple months ago. So
Yeah.
they might be hesitant to put more money into that park. Granted, I know they have very limited space, but
Mm-hmm.
that's theme parks are going to look at. Like, these chains are going to look at their parks. Like, they're going to look at the the local audience, how the government has affected, obviously, again, I'm not going political, I'm not at all going down that line here, but I know I'm kind of getting that topic.
Okay.
But it's definitely affects what people are looking at in the future, and I know parks are going to take that into consideration. So obviously, Kings Island, they were able to function pretty well last year,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously with Cedar Point. So yeah, I do think they're going to pour more money back into it. Yeah, I'm going all over the place around, but
That's all right. I feel like your answer is providing enough detail to give multiple outlooks and scenarios for the viewers. So I honestly don't mind that you're going in several directions, because it definitely gives you like certain views on like it gives you multiple different views on what could possibly happen, especially at like a park like Kings Island. Like, anything is possible there. As you said, I don't think they're looking at anything budget-wise, because that's one of their flagship parks.
But I mean, that's I'm sort of changing topics here, but same topic. I mean, we're seeing this across the board in United States. I don't know about the rest of the world, but we are having an issue with people getting employees at theme parks, and it's very much affecting, and it's going to affect what these parks plan on doing in the future. Because you know what, if they can't handle the amount of guests and their attendance they have now,
Mm-hmm.
why would they invest more money into new attractions?
Right. Yeah.
It's going to bring in more guests, and they're just not going to be able to keep up with the demand. So that's obviously, again, it's all supply and demand. That's why you're seeing like the park's minimum wages are starting to increase that, which is great.
You know what? And real quick to add on to that too, while I'm thinking about it, that could quite possibly be why we haven't seen the SeaWorld parks open up their new attractions like Pantheon, Icebreaker, and Iron Gwazi.
I would agree. I could definitely agree that for for Pantheon with Busch Gardens Williamsburg, because when I was there, I guess that was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I don't know. Like I've done so much in the past month that it's like everything's all blending together. But they were having staff issues. But when I was at SeaWorld Orlando, like that's the one that to me baffles my mind. Like as I was just walking around the park, they had, no joke, I saw at least 200 employees there that were being trained, because they had like these whole mobs of employees just walking around, and they were like doing orientation or showing rides. Like every roller coaster, every attraction had like a trainee up there, and then one person was like, hey, this is what we do. And so I feel like SeaWorld is getting there. Like they're definitely bringing in the employees. Majority of their rides and attractions were operating. As for Busch Gardens Tampa, that's a little bit different of a story. They are definitely struggling with some employees. So it might be Orlando could be somewhat of the oddball out there, but I mean, once you just escape that one little bubble of like some of the parks there, and I know some of the parks there are having issues with employment, but yeah, I mean, that could very well play into it, and I that's you probably hit it right on the nose why they're delaying. And to be honest, I would not be surprised if all three of those attractions, including everybody keeps forgetting about Emperor over at
oh yeah,
like, hey, there's this dive coaster over there that nobody talks about. It exists, but
yeah.
I just always kind of wonder, like, maybe they will delay them until 2022 until they get a good handle on. Again, there's a lot of pieces in motion. There's a lot of things that have changed drastically over the past month, obviously with last year rolling into this year. So parks figuring out their game plan moving forward, because just like as you'd say, my plans are up in the air of like where I'm going to go. I mean, some of these corporations, their plans are up in the air too, because they're probably not, I mean, their 5-year plan that they had from last year is probably completely thrown in the garbage now.
Yeah. So, you know what? I agree. I think that's definitely like a realistic possibility, especially because like we're coming into like peak months for these parks, and you know they still don't even like have an opening date announced for any of these rides.
For Memorial Day, I would say, yeah, this is Memorial Day. We are in the peak season now for theme parks. Moving forward, today is like the grand finale, like the grand opening for pretty much the majority of theme parks across the country, and so
yeah.
I'm hearing from a lot of these parks, like Kennywood, obviously, I know they have employee shortage. I know they've been increasing their start pay, which is great. Because I mean, when I was there last, they had like they were so understaffed, it was crazy. Like I didn't ride it, but my wife went and rode a racer with Braylon, and there was, no joke, only one person running the ride. So that guy was letting people into the ride. He was operating the exit. He was obviously checking all of the restraints, which for that ride, it's 2 trains. Just one guy. That's all they had.
Wow.
You saw that across the board. Like, there was a ton of rides. Like, whatever was the minimum amount of employees that they had to operate something, that's what they had. So it was, they're, I mean, definitely struggling there too. And again, parks are closing down midweek, which is very disappointing, because all of us now are like, hey, we can travel more again. But the parks are like, well, we can't open. So...
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Hopefully a more positive outlook will come upon these parks in the coming weeks.
I see another, somebody mentioned Coaster World there, talking about SeaWorld Orlando.
Yeah.
I think they've done a great job. I think they did a fantastic job this past when I was there. I mean, just people spaced out how they moved guests around the park. I mean, it's a nice big open park anyways, but yeah.
All right. Seeing that we're not really getting any more questions here, I think we're gonna cut the I think we'll end things off here. So once again, I really want to thank you for coming on to this podcast. I really appreciate having you on here. I had a great conversation with you. Actually, it's probably one of my favorite.
This has been fun. So yeah, I mean, again, you ever want me back on? I'll try to figure out some way and get on here.
That's all. Yeah, of course.
Great practice for this coming Sunday. So
All right, and yeah, so with that, guys, that is Coaster Conventional episode 4. Thank you again, Derrick, for coming on to the podcast. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all on episode 5 coming on Wednesday, which I will be announcing the guest for on my Instagram page on Wednesday at around noontime, so be on the lookout for that, and have a great rest of your Memorial Day weekend, everyone.